shocking news from the Knicks camp involving team president Dave Checketts, who, according to rumors, may be ready to give up his post and embark on a new career as a broadcaster. He debuted behind the mic on Friday morning on WNBC's show Today in New York. Let's critique.
And now, yes, we're going to have to get to the bad news. The Knicks will not go undefeated at home this year. We got stung by the Hornets last night at the Garden. Closing seconds, tied at 94, and the Knicks were unable to work the ball inside. John Starks takes a shot I wasn't crazy about. It misses, sending the game into overtime. And then Charlotte's Del Curry, the worm, hit a couple of clutch baskets in overtime, and the Hornets went on to win.
Dave, that's got to be the worst I've heard anybody ever read the highlights. I'll tell you one thing, Lynn Berman never has to worry about job security.
Thank you very much, Greg Anthony. I appreciate it.
Greg Anthony with those words.
What about your job security, Greg?
No word yet if Dave will be hosting Knicks game night anytime in the near future. Now it's time for the Alamo Scouting Report. The Detroit Pistons are at Madison. He's on an unbelievable rebounding tear. Rodman, 20 or more boards in 7 consecutive games, and he leads the NBA with an average of 16.9 rebounds per game. Now, the last time the Knicks took on the Pistons, it was not a good show. It came right on the heels of the Knicks' blowout win over the Bulls. It was all Detroit, and the Knicks showed plenty of bad tempers in that ball game. The Pistons did everything right. They won it 92-76, and that ended their 7-game losing streak and started their 5-game win streak. Pat Riley called it a total team letdown. Well, tonight the Knicks get a chance for revenge at Madison Square Garden and a chance to turn it around against the Detroit Pistons. When we come back, we'll find out if the
Blackman. At guard at 6'3" from Marquette, number 25, Doc Rivers. At forward at 6'10" from Pittsburgh, number 54, Charles Smith. At forward at 6'9" from Virginia Union, number 34, Charles Oakley. And at center at 7 feet from Georgetown, number 33, Patrick Ewing. The head trainer is Mike Bunkers, the assistant trainer is Tim Wolf. Assistant coaches Dick Carter and Ted Van Gundy. And the head coach of the Knicks, Pat Riley.
Somewhere between liftoff in New York after crushing the Chicago Bulls and hitting the landing strip in Detroit, the Knicks lost their intensity in the game in which they attempted to win at the Palace in Auburn Hills. Tonight they know it must be different. They know the one thing that they need to have. Here's Doc Rivers.
Well, intensity is what the Knicks feed on. Is our intensity, especially on defense. When we play good intense defense, we play good offense. And obviously, we want a different outcome than the last time we played the Detroit Pistons.
Doc coming off one of his better games in a Knick uniform. It was, of course, in a losing effort. 9 assists, 14 points in 34 minutes on Thursday. And he'll be out there with Rolando Blackman, still searching to find his shooting stroke. Charles Oakley, Charles Rivers shaking off the effects of a sprained ankle, and Patrick Ewing, Bill Laimbeer, Dennis Rodman, Orlando Woolridge, Isaiah Thomas, and Joe Dumars. We'll get the look on the tip-off tonight from the Upper Deck trading card cam. No one does basketball like Upper Deck. Ed T. Rush, Steve Jabbie, Nolan Fine, and this one at the Garden is set to go. Knicks control the tip. Late arriving crowd, easily understandable with all the transportation problems in the metro area and around. Blackman. He's off and 0 for 1.
Rolando has been opening up pressing a bit the last couple of games.
Isaiah has been getting off a lot of high assist numbers. Bill Laimbeer now, only the 3rd active player with 10,000 points and 10,000 career rebounds. He gets the first 2. That was a hard pass. Somehow Smith was in the right place. That just bounced off of Oakley's hands. 2-2.
Well, Al, the Knicks met Detroit last time after that very big win over Chicago. Pat Riley knew his team was in trouble when he asked them before the game, who starts for the Detroit Pistons? And nobody volunteered the answer. He felt his team wasn't into it mentally last time they met. You know, tonight it's a different story.
They not only know who's starting, they know their colleges, their heights, I would guess, everything. Blackman for Oakley.
Now, if they can remember to put their hands up when Bill Laimbeer shoots jump shots, things will really be good.
Here's Pat Riley's quote after that loss at the Palace. In this league, there will be times when you get kicked around on the road, but when not one player plays their game, you have to wonder about the intensity of the team. Now, that was a bad game from the very beginning. I remember going to the very first commercial. You and I were there. Marv was off that. Does Marv not like the Pistons, John? But anyway, we talked about that from the very first quarter.
Joe Dumars hits that jumper, the man who was the key person for Detroit in that win against the Knicks when the Pistons broke, by the way, a 7-game winning streak. They came in real down, and their pride was challenged, and they answered well.
Rolando Blackman misses again. You can tell, as he was Thursday night, shooting early, shooting often in an effort to get it back. And you know, John, I think Rolando's at the point with Pat Riley, I think, questioning his defensive ability just a little bit after the last game, that if he comes out and doesn't show a hot hand, his minutes that particular night could be limited.
Well, I think in the case of the prior game against Charlotte, Pat just feels Starks has a little more energy and gets the nod defensively. But I think, Al, that Blackman has enough personal pride and knowledge of the game that once his shooting gets going, everything will be there. And I think, too, also that his defense hasn't suffered. That has not been his problem. It has been his shooting percentage.
Nice week for Blackman in terms of respect. Sunday, he had his number 32 retired by Grady High School. And just last night in Teaneck, number 44 was retired in honor of Tony Campbell. Orlando Woolridge to the line off of Charles Smith's first foul of the game. Misses the first. This Pistons team is one that has some scary free throw numbers. Woolridge, for example, is 66% from the line.
Ron Rothstein, the coach, told me before the game, had they shot a better percentage earlier in the season, at one point, instead of being 5-5, he thought they should have been 8-2, even perhaps 10-0, mainly due to poor foul shooting.
Doc Rivers spins away from Thomas, but then throws it right to Woolridge. Winds up in the hands of Dumars, who launches one that's deflected by Blackman into the VIP seats. With 19 seconds on the 24-second clock, it'll be Pistons ball. Pat Riley's team 11-7. Fourth game of a 5-game homestand here at the Garden. Monday night, it's the Nuggets of Denver, one of the worst road teams in the NBA. Laimbeer on the cut and the block by Patrick Ewing. He now has 32 blocks over his last 12 games. Rivers pulls up. It's not sizzling at all early, and they're down by 5. Rodman able to keep it alive. Dumars lets it go. And that bounces off the rim. It'll be Nick Ball.
The thing the Knicks have to focus on this game, rebounding, rebounding, rebounding. This Pistons team, since the Knicks played them last, has won 5 straight. In 5 straight, they've dominated the boards. So the Knicks must win the rebounding battle, and they have the people to do it.
Inside, outside, around the perimeter, back inside it goes, and Patrick had to wait for that pass just a beat too long. 3 seconds is the call, with 9 minutes to go in the opening quarter at Madison Square Garden. Those 5 straight wins for the Pistons. The Knicks, which started it, Philadelphia twice, Orlando in a big win, and last night the Cleveland Cavaliers 107-103. Laimbeer.
If he is one pass away from the man with the ball, I speak of Bill Laimbeer, he must be guarded. Ewing was at the foul line, and he came out as Laimbeer got the ball. That's not quick enough. Laimbeer can shoot fast, as many have seen throughout his very fine career. He's a fine shooter. That's how he hurts you on the offensive end.
Laimbeer 2 for 3 in the early going with 4 points.
Upper deck cam now. We'll take a look now at Isaiah. See what Patrick Ewing is. Now the ball goes out all kinds of time for Bill Laimbeer.
Laimbeer started the season starting, then came off the bench, and has started now the last 8, coming off of off-season shoulder surgery, of which it is said there is little residue. He's playing at 100% condition.
Bill has not started all the games this year. This is the 9th game out of 17. You'll see Bill Laimbeer's career. One of 3 active players, Moses Malone and Robert Parrish being the others, with 10,000 points and 10,000 rebounds. That 10,000th rebound came last week.
Play back in, Doc Rivers, and you know defense is the name of the game for both of these teams. Patrick Ewing looks off the official as if to say, I got hacked also. Those points for Ewing. Only Ewing and Smith with points. Knicks with 4. And now trailing 11-4. Lambeer now with 6.
Lambeer and Ewing got locked up as Ewing went down to get position, and Ewing tried to spring himself with his arms from Lambeer's pressure and was called for the foul. You see the end of it now as Lambeer rather dramatically showed a reaction to Ewing's presence and succeeded in drawing the foul.
Lambeer only averaging 8.7 points a game. He's already standing at 6. That'll be Nick Ball off of Lambeer's foot. He pleads and then pleads some more, but the Knicks get it.
Well, Patrick got up on him sharply, then forcing Lambeer to try and dribble around him, and then the infraction came.
Sluggish start for the Knicks, and John, from where I sit, the offense is picking up where it left off in the Charlotte game. Not in the flow, not doing the passing things and the picks and rolls that had led to their success here at the Garden.
The shots are going up a little quickly, Al.
Woolridge for Lambeer, guarded by Ewing. It is Oakley on Rodman, Smith on Woolridge. Doc Rivers on Joe Dumars, coming off a 28-point game last night. He's off, and badly so, on his 3 shots. Rivers gets the block from Ewing. That leaves Patrick for the 15-footer. That's 2 in a row from there. Now with 7 to go in the first, it's a 5-point Pistons lead. Dennis Rodman for 3, almost an air ball. He had hit for a 3, his first of the year, in that visit against the Knicks.
You won't see many players take a 3 and then almost get their own rebound.
Charles Oakley from the baseline.
That's the thing about that shot. Robin almost got the rebound on that 3.
Dumars for Lambeer, very active on offense. Doc Rivers tries to get that rebound. Rodman had his tattooed arms high in the air to grab it. And it will be a foul on the Knicks with 6:26 to go in the first when we come back.
After weeknight Nick and Ranger home games, catch Sports Talk, sports news, and much more live from the play-by-play with Mike Francesa.
Harry Mills from long range. He killed the Knicks in that game at the Palace 2 weeks ago.
He did. In 16 minutes, he scored 18 points.
Starks on the low pick from Ewing. That is off. Both Starks and Anthony were out here working overtime to get their shots in order. Knicks need somebody. Oh, no one picked up Alden Polynice. No, Knicks want a timeout. That was a horrific stretch following the timeout for the Knicks. The Pistons increase their lead now to 16 points on a 12-2 run. 1:14 to go.
Pistons played last night at home against Cleveland. Flew here, got here early in the morning, and they look sharp. Speaking of sharp, Isaiah Thomas, Al, you mentioned the Payne-Weber leaders all-time steals list. Isaiah Thomas, number 3 all-time.
Just over a minute to go. 6 turnovers in this first quarter for the Knicks. Ewing, Starks for 3. Knicks are way off. Recovery by Anthony with help from Oakley. Mason almost walked. Spinning on Mills. Lost it in traffic. And it is Nick Ball.
We have to note the tough defense of the Pistons. That's their tradition. And that's what the Knicks are facing now. The Pistons feel good about themselves offensively. Now they're tightening up and even becoming tougher defensively. That's why the Knicks couldn't get a good shot.
Starks. That time he seemed to be falling for the hoop. Patrick Ewing with a nice follow. 28-14. The Detroit Pistons still doubling the Knicks.
I believe that was Mason that kept that ball alive right into the hands of Ewing. Good effort on the offensive boards.
Knicks at a 29% success level on their shooting. They've been searching for their stroke, mostly from the outside. Pistons not letting him get in. Mills way off. Saved by Rodman. Intercepted by Thomas. And as the 24-second clock expires, he almost hit it. There's been a lot of buzz here in the building with the news coming out this week that for the first time in their history, the NHL will have a commissioner. His name is Gary Bettman. Up until January 31st, he will remain in his current role as Senior Vice President and General Counsel to the NBA. After that, he will chart the future of the NHL. Larry Grantham, Charlie Grantham, rather, has known him through many a negotiation, and he will be chatting in just a matter of moments with Bruce Beck to talk about what kind of future Mr. Bettman might bring to the NHL. 7.3 to go in the first quarter. For a moment there, I gave Charlie a football career, John. Knicks backcourt, the donut. 2 to go. Knicks can't get anything to work. It does not count. After one quarter at Madison Square Garden in New York, the Pistons 28, Knicks 14.
New York Knicks basketball
comes up way short. A loose ball scooped by John Starks, and he's off and running.
Terry Mills keeps shooting like that, the Knicks will be right back into it.
Charles Smith hits from the outside, 14 points, tying the season low output for a quarter. 14 points also coming at the hands of the Washington Bullets. Danny Young off the bench, his pass almost stolen. Weaves it outside, 8 on the 24, and he lets it go. Loose ball, Mason up the floor, he sees Ewing. Starks also does. Here it comes. Pass was off, Ewing gets it and is fouled.
Well, this is combining with the Pistons going cold. The Knicks getting some life now and some running. Mason pushing it up. Starks sees Ewing in great position. Very difficult play to execute, though. It has to be perfect, but the Knicks get something out of it.
Back live, off on the free throw. The rebound rescued by Greg Anthony. Knicks within 10, and a whistle stops Patrick Ewing. Thought he may have dropped that one in.
See, the Knicks now go to Ewing down low, which is he's their bread and butter. And why not establish him as the focal point inside? Doesn't mean he has to shoot all the time, but let the action begin with him and then see what happens. No one on the Pistons brings fear to Patrick Ewing as far as defense goes. It's not like he's going to have that shot shoved down his throat. There's no one he should be afraid of. Ron Rothstein now a little concerned about the turn here as the Knicks are coming on.
He's also seen Terry Mills get 2 quick fouls, and he remembers from the first game this season, Mills getting in foul trouble. Now Patrick Ewing with 12, Charles Smith with 6, Oakley with 2. That is the offense for the Knicks. No one else has scored. Knicks on an 8-0 run. It's 28-20. Danny Young, the replacement for the now released Darrell Walker on the Pistons roster, inside for Mills, the offseason free agent and ex-Net. Kicks it out, and a 3-second violation against Detroit.
Detroit has gone flat.
Now, there's been a lot of talk of the tides in the New York area over the past 2 days, and tonight at the Garden, it has turned in favor of the Knicks.
Knicks going into a set play now for Charles Smith.
Guarded by Rodman, and they say it's a foul on Dennis, who used his knee, Ed Rush said, to defend Charles Smith.
That is a specific type foul that the NBA and the officials are looking for now. The defensive man using his knee while he's guarding the big man down low. Get a great look at it now. Rodman using that right leg, that thigh, doing a lot of pushing.
Rodman's first foul. He is pulled by Ron Rothstein. Orlando Woolridge back in. Charles Smith for Starks. 3-point attempt is in. 28-23. The Knicks have cut the Pistons' lead to 5. Woolridge for Dumars. Young for Woolridge. Cutting is Dumars. Oh, he got it off so quick. John, one thing I'm thinking about is depth on the bench, which allows the Knicks to get back in this game. Pat Riley goes and brings in his. Ron Rustin brings in his, and it's just not the same. There's Mason working inside.
Mason getting away with that extra step, but that was a beautifully executed move by him as the Knicks left the middle open for him.
Fans at the Garden, and it is full. Chant defense. Woolridge. But for a moment he might have traveled. But it is a foul charge to John Starks. Isaiah Thomas checks back in. 9:15 to go in the first half. Pistons 30, Knicks 25. Knicks on a 13-2 run, and finally someone other than Ewing, Smith, and Oakley have scored. Mason with that 2, and John Starks with the 3-point goal just prior to that.
What we're witnessing now, Al, is an example of why Pat Riley goes with this particular lineup, as Terry Mills shows that fine touch. The other day, in defending his use of Starks and Anthony in the latter part of the game against Charlotte, he was quoted as saying, "I think defense. If you know how I coach, I think defense." When Starks and Anthony came into this game with Mason, this thing has turned around.
Very much so.
That's his defensive crew.
Smith draws the double team. That leaves Mason open. Anthony Mason 2 for 2. Coming off the 25-point career game a week ago against Dallas. Isaiah Thomas to work a little extra hard on the pass-off, and then it's intercepted as Dumars couldn't handle the Mills outlet. Anthony pulls up. Ewing gets the follow. Looks inside for Smith, and he is fouled before he could get it up.
Nicely done, Patrick.
And once again, Herb Williams off the bench, and that should get the expected result from the crowd.
Well, on that pass in, John Starks was on the case that time. He got beaten by Dumars moments ago under the hoop, but he didn't let it happen again.
12 points, 4 rebounds for Patrick Ewing, 3 quick fouls for Terry Mills and Johnson's. Pat Riley has instituted the so-called 8-man rotation. He has used 9 and 10. We haven't seen an 8-man rotation quite yet. Smith to the line with 8:04 to go, and it rolls off. Back in for Detroit. And the expected greeting for Mr. Lambier, who in 14 seasons has not endeared himself to many fans in the NBA except those in Detroit.
Well, in the first 4 minutes of the second quarter, the Knicks have turned around the shooting for the team. 29% for the first quarter shooting for the Knicks. They're now at 40% after 4 minutes.
Charles Smith with a 50% trip to the line, and is 32-28, Knicks within 4. Thomas looks all alone as Colonies. That is twice that Colonies has eluded defense underneath.
Oh, that makes coaches crazy. Riley just turned around and slapped the floor as he went back and sat down. No excuse for a play like that if you're the defense.
Williams for Mason. Out for Starks, around the perimeter, but always looking inside. Anthony back out for Herb Williams. And Herb, who's hit 5 of his 6 shots in his last 5 games. He doesn't take many, but he's been making them. Was just off there. Loose ball foul.
Williams came out to set a pick for Greg Anthony. For some reason, Greg chose not to use it, so he then went baseline where he was stopped, and then Williams all of a sudden had the ball with the clock ticking away. He had to take the shot.
Knicks winning the battle of the offensive rebound. So far, they are still down by 6. Dumars, elusive. Anthony as the Knicks try to push it. Starks wide open. Finally getting some points from the guard position as Starks 2 for 7. Not exactly a sizzling beginning, but nonetheless 5 points.
Good movement by him, though. He created pressure just by getting down court quickly. No one was matched up with him.
Thomas being followed by Charles Smith. Orlando Woolridge winds up being the open man.
It's always a bonus for the Pistons when Woolridge gets a point out of a half-court offense. He shines when the team runs, and the Pistons don't run much these days.
Mason working on Colonies. the feet of Coach Ron Rothstein and rolled out of bounds.
Orlando showed what a team player he is with his reaction.
So Dumars is missing on a rainbow, followed by Lambier. And Bill Lambier in this first half has almost scored his seasonal average. 8 now, and he averages just under 9.
Well, if you're the Pistons coach, Ron Rothstein, you're so pleased with Rodman's work on that play. He sprung that ball loose, and it fell right into Lambier's hands.
Doc Rivers barely moved the net. 42-36. Knicks within 6, shaving 10 points off of what once was a 16-point Detroit Pistons lead.
Mason now guarding Rodman. It's his job to keep Rodman off the boards. Rodman has not destroyed the Knicks so far. He's doing his thing, but he's not dominating as much as he did in their prior meeting.
4 rebounds, 0 points. Thomas driving on Rivers. Ball lays on the ground. 4 on the 24, and Smith looks up the floor with Mason and Ewing charging. Patrick Ewing in Lambier's face.
Ewing wants the foul. He didn't get it. Bill Lambier was rendered to be about 6 feet tall on that move. He just had it happen all around him.
Well, it's so rare not to see a guard leading a break like that. Not the case. It was Mason and Ewing.
After weeknight Nick and Ranger home games, catch Sports Talk, sports news, and much more.
Isaiah Thomas. 46-39 for Thomas, 9 points. Isaiah is also beating his man to the boards. He's got 4 rebounds. On the 24 with 70 seconds to go in the half. Rivers slides around Thomas and banks it in beautifully.
Doc Rivers at 6'4" becomes tall when he gets around the basket. He can go up all of a sudden and deal with big people as he did then. He made that very difficult move look pretty easy.
Doc's hit his last 2, and a foul as Isaiah Thomas went sliding between Rivers and Ewing.
You know, Isaiah's feeling good physically. He's had a lot of nagging injuries this year. When you see him push a move like that, he pushed that ball between 2 Knicks defenders, and he's playing with a lot of energy tonight.
Isaiah had a 21-point game last night, 16-point game earlier in the week against Orlando. Charles Smith does a tightrope, keeps it in, looks for help. Here's Oakley, the open jumper. Patrick Ewing trying to keep it alive. Rolando Black, great save by Smith. There's about a 6-second differential in the shot and game clock. 10 on the 24 on the left of your screen. Clock for Ewing. He bounces off Rodman. That'll be an offensive foul.
How about Rodman's reaction? He's clobbered down on the ground and he bounces up like a jack-in-the-box, waving his arm. Look at Rodman. What a shot he takes, and watch him react. Bang, he's right up.
John, how about Nick execution in the closing seconds of a sequence, a half, a game?
Well, the other night against Charlotte, it stands out how poorly they executed, as they just did now. See, Rodman has the quickness to stay with Ewing. Lambier doesn't. Patrick didn't recognize that skill of Lambier, his speed.
Pistons leading by 5 with 9.7 to go. Ron Rothstein calls a 20-second timeout, allowing me to tell you that this program is authorized by Madison Square Garden Productions Incorporated, solely for the entertainment of our audience, and any publication, rebroadcast, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this event without the express written consent of MSG Productions Incorporated is prohibited. Half-hour edition tonight. Mike Crispino anchoring the MSG Sports Desk. The Heisman Trophy has been awarded. He'll tell you who got it. Mike Quick with his high school plays of the year, which I always love. And they'll have the complete NBA NHL report. We'll also hear from Mike Crispino briefly at halftime in just a matter of moments. Isaiah Thomas, a one-man band to Dennis Rodman, who drops it in with 1.3 to go. And Doc Rivers comes up just short. It grazed the rim. The Knicks had faced a 16-point deficit. Moments ago, they had closed to within 3, but a flurry by the Pistons makes it 48 41. There's the menu for our halftime when we come back on MSG to Madison Square Garden in New York, where the Pistons lead at the half.
Gotta find that girl in Jordan's jeans, prettiest girl I ever seen. Oh, slow down, baby, you got that look. Yeah, the way you shake it really got me shook. Gotta find that girl in Jordan's jeans.
Productivity-wise.
And the second half begins with the Pistons leading it 48-41. At one time, a 16-point first half lead. Isaiah Thomas tangled up and fouled on the release. Isaiah Thomas, 9 points, 10 assists, 2 steals, 4 rebounds. Third foul on Patrick Ewing.
You know, Isaiah is really among the greats as far as NBA careers go. Now in his 12th year, Al, and he looks tonight like he's in his second or third year. He's playing with tremendous energy and competitive fire that people are used to seeing him play with. I think he looks much more alive tonight than he did in the playoffs last year against the Knicks.
It's been for the past week, if you look over the box scores and the numbers, or at least it seems that way from a numerical standpoint. Isaiah, a 66% free throw shooter, hits 1 of 2. It's an 8-point Pistons lead.
Well, a good example also of what you're saying is like last night against Cleveland, he went to the foul line 14 times. Shows you how much driving he's putting on.
Charles Oakley with a rarely seen running hook.
That's a nicely done shot. He looked very comfortable executing that hook shot.
Al Troutwig from Marv Albert, who we hope has arrived in Chicago with all the weather. And John Andres here, Bruce Beck and Walt Frazier. Joe Dumars hits from long range.
You see that ball movement of the Pistons broke the Knicks defense down so much so that Dumars had nobody near him when he shot the ball.
You know, one thing about the Pistons ball movement is that it has found the open man, which sometimes for the Knicks doesn't necessarily wind up being the result of their passing.
That's why their assist total was so high in the first half.
Patrick Ewing on the fall away. 2 Pistons collide. It looks as though Dennis Rodman will get another rebound.
I mean, I can't believe Pat Riley wants Patrick Ewing taking fall-away jump shots.
Orlando Woolridge way outside, guarded by Smith, and the Pistons clear it out for him, and he decides to let go. Ewing on the save for Blackman and Rivers. Same starting lineup for both teams here in the third. Rivers guarded by Thomas. Rodman with Smith. Knicks clear it out for Charles to work the 2-inch height advantage. He comes up short, and Lambier is there for the rebound.
Charles Smith felt the strength of Rodman, who looks quite lean but is very strong.
Blackman guarding Dumars. Ewing with Lambier. And Big Bill lets it go hard off the glass.
Ewing got in his face. He distracted him. Good play by Ewing with the hands up.
Ewing draws 2 that leaves Smith open and Doc Rivers. And Patrick again. Smith and Rivers both passed up open shots. Woolridge on the run as he does so well.
Knicks are letting it slide away from them now, and they are settling for shots that are not good shots. Ewing was played well by Lambier after that nice passing sequence. He still stayed with the jumper, kind of bent his way back just to get the shot up. It was not a good shot.
Detroit on an 11-2 run. They closed out the second quarter with a flurry, and you can see Pat Riley has little to say.
Well, that was Ewing's last shot and a miss, and the Pistons ignited a fast break after that miss. And that's Orlando Woolridge's game, the running game.
Knicks coming in with the #1 defense in the NBA. Pistons at #3, and you can see that is reflected in the points allowed. Of course, these are the 2 lowest output offensive teams in the NBA as well. They slow it down and they score fewer. Ronnie Rothstein in his rookie season, not as an NBA coach, but as the Pistons head coach.
The Pistons and the Knicks both average 96-point offense.
Great look by Ewing.
I think Rodman hit that in.
I think he did too. He's got a grimace on his face as if to say, I did.
But Oakley will get credit for it, as he was closest.
Pistons by 10. This has been the type of Knick performance that has been reserved for the road only. Trapped in the corner. Dumars is able to save it. Laimbeer tangled up, and Woolridge goes up against the entire Knick team almost. 24-second clock expired. Thomas flips it inside. Wildly sloppy play. Knicks pressuring the ball everywhere. Rivers up the floor for Smith. Laimbeer is back. And Ewing puts in a difficult, awkward pass from Smith.
Well, Smith certainly protected Patrick Ewing with that pick.
Thomas for Laimbeer. Pistons do a good job when they draw the double team of getting somebody wide enough open to be an obvious target. Rivers flying into the crowd. He's all right.
Nice effort and blocked by Charles Smith. Another look at it now. Smith using those long arms to send that shot away.
I think Woolridge lost total control of that ball actually just before the block was made. Stolen on the inbound by Smith, who's running with Blackman. Pistons hurry to get back and do, but Ewing is open. Patrick Ewing, 19 points on 8 of 14 shooting, and as Marv might say, John, amidst a jump shot festival, he has been able to score 19.
Thanks to Charles Smith's long arms, the Knicks have gotten some positive play going.
Behind the back, Dumars to elude the double team. Thomas spinning on Rivers. Lost and saved by Smith. Charles Smith very active at the defensive end. Smith looking for Blackman. Yet to take a shot in this third quarter. Smith. Rolando will let it go. His first hit of the game. He's 1 for 5. But it was all net. And now the Knicks making something happen. With 7:25 to go in the third. They're within 4 again. It's a 20-second timeout.
It is defense for the Knicks that is getting them back into this game as it did earlier. Charles Smith has been a key man. Look at the Knicks switching. Ewing comes out to double team the ball. Isaiah gets it up behind his back. Immediately, Oakley is right up on the ball. Again, on the ball identification. Isaiah can't get away from anybody. Gives it up, and Smith, long arms, corral that ball and enable the Knicks to push something up court. That was team defense.
And, you know, John, it can't be emphasized enough that this is not player instinct. This is the result of endless hours of work by Pat Riley and switching and recovering and leaving your man and getting another.
Well, in other words, when one man leaves his area to go to another area to help, someone has to fill his spot. And it continues. That geometrical progression continues.
And that's why you sometimes see an Anthony Mason on Muggsy Bogues or a Charles Smith on Isaiah Thomas outside. The switching circular motion sometimes creates mismatches like that. Just over 7 to go in the third. Dumars. He's way off, and Ewing is ferocious in ripping the rebound down. Knicks within 4 after a very slow start for them in the third. Charles Smith, all net. A 10-zip run for the Knicks. It is the type of run they used in the second quarter to erase the early huge Pistons lead. Fans getting more into it. Blackman gets right on Dumars. Joe to the basket, draws the foul on the drive. Dennis Rodman slams the ball in disgust. Timeout on the floor. We'll be back in a moment.
Features 2 adversaries from years gone by. Patrick Ewing, Bill Laimbeer. Ewing winning basically 2-1 in points and rebounds. Knicks team defense continues, though. They're very sharp. Look at Ewing come up top of the picture. Keep Isaiah from going to that right hand he wants. Ball moves to Laimbeer. Immediately he's guarded. A lot of pressure on the ball. Cross-court pass. Joe Dumars getting that ball. Oh, that was, excuse me, that was Woolridge being denied by Charles Smith.
And one of the best things about this charge, John, is that it's the starters. for once, the Knicks are making something big happen with the 5 guys who start the game. Isaiah Thomas to the free throw line. I'm sorry, Joe Dumars to the free throw line. Makes it a 3-point lead. And 4. 55-51. A couple of points that the Pistons desperately needed to slow New York down a bit. Doc Rivers. Oakley with a big rebound. Looks for help. Smith. Rivers guarded by Thomas. Detroit comes out of their timeout a little bit more active defensively. 10 on the 24. Doc.
That's the advantage sometimes of getting the ball back after a miss. You feel the ball, you've got a sense of the touch, and fortunately for Rivers and the Knicks, he got it back and made it.
Knickerbockers once again within 2 with 6 minutes to go in the third. Off the backboard, an errant pass by Dumars. Rivers launches it for Ewing for Blackman. He's got 2 in a row. It's an extremely good sign for the Knicks. That one on the run. And another time to talk it over for the Pistons. This game, for the first time since it began, is tied at 55. The Knicks on a 14-2 run.
Tickets, a Knicks videotape, and a Knicks t-shirt. For more information, call 212-465-JUMP.
John, as I've said, I'd prefer a tie. That's the Johnny Hoops holiday package also. Marv wants me to say things like that.
You show good taste.
Lambier out for Isaiah Thomas. Knicks extremely intense defensively. That has helped turn this third quarter in their favor. Thomas with a heave, and he's fouled. Doc Rivers and Charles Oakley were all over him, and Oakley showing good footwork to stay with Isaiah. It's as if he knew he'd be fouled if he went up for the shot.
Now you can just imagine Pat Riley and his coaching staff, as we look at the Detroit Pistons' bad news. They haven't had a field goal in the last 4 minutes and 27 seconds. But you can imagine Pat and his staff showing the Knicks in their next film review the intensity that they're putting forth on defense now versus the opening part of this game. It's totally different. The Knicks are much more intense as a team now in the third quarter.
Isaiah makes it 57-55. The game moments ago was tied for the first time since it was 2-2. And in between this moment and that moment, a lot of rough-looking Knicks basketball. Doc Rivers gets the screen from Smith. He draws the double team that left Smith open. Couldn't see him. Ewing back for Rivers. He drives, scoops. Oakley with a big rebound in traffic. Ewing tried to keep it alive, and now it's a 3-on-1. Blackman the only one back. And Olden Pollard slams it in, 59-55.
Interesting judgment by Rivers. He had an open jump shot, but he elected to drive into the cluster of Pistons.
Blackman running. Well short, following the shot. And he was fouled, going up for the rebound. Olden Pollard called for the foul. Third on Pollard. Pollard with a pretty good effect coming off the bench with 10 points, 8 of those in the first half, when he was able to work inside. At the other end, the Pistons ending a 4:55 drought between field goals. Ewing faking. And Pollard with the rebound. 4.5 to go in the third. Thomas on the move. He draws a crowd, and they leave. The crowd does for Doc Rivers to guard it one-on-one. That's Oakley banging with Terry Mills off the bench for Detroit. Terry Mills drops it in. Mills with 6.
He's an excellent shooter, Terry Mills. Knicks owning the offensive boards, 17-6.
6-0 run by Detroit since the game was tied at 55. Charles Smith fouled on the release. Rodman on the foul. That's his second. Gerald Glass back into the game for Detroit, replacing Joe Dumars.
Pistons have only had one offensive rebound here in the third quarter. Charles Smith has certainly shown no effect of that very bad sprain he suffered against Charlotte the other night.
Not at all.
He played 20 minutes in the first half.
Smith now in double digits scoring. That's 10. He is 4 for 5 from the floor. 4 rebounds as well. Knicks being led by Patrick Ewing's 19, and now Smith joins him in double figures. 3 in double figures for Detroit. 12 for Isaiah Thomas. 10 each for Joe Dumars and Olden Polynice. Time remaining on your screen in the third. Knicks down by 4. Expending a lot of effort, the Knicks, in getting back into this game. Oh, the hook by Polynice. He's got 12.
Polynice is doing a fine job coming off the bench for the Knicks. Pat Riley goes with his starters now here exclusively in the third quarter.
Rolando Blackman on the drive. They will count it.
Rolando getting the time now, guarded closely. And when you're guarded that closely, why not drive? And he does. He hasn't done it much this year.
Watch him protect the ball.
That's got to help loosen him up. That helps the jump shot when you drive also and show that effectiveness.
Rolando completing the three-point play. He now has 9, and after starting 0 for 4 from the floor, he is 3 for 8.
Defensive man won't be that close on Blackman perhaps next time.
Mills working on Smith, and Mills has the touch.
Wow. Boy, he's got a special skill to hit shots like that.
Charles Smith tries to answer. Polynice for the rebound. Thomas sees an opening, spins, and drops it in easily. Isaiah Thomas now with 14, and the Pistons again a 7-point lead. Oh, how frustrating it would be for the Knicks if all their hard work in this quarter was not up there on the scoreboard when the buzzer sounded at the end of the quarter. You have to wonder, John, maybe Knicks may need some help off the bench here. With the starters were out there working so hard on defense, they may have lost a little bit.
Well, right now, Pat Riley has agreed with what you're suggesting, Al, with Anthony Mason and Greg Anthony checking in.
3-second violation on the Pistons. So Greg Anthony and Anthony Mason off the Knicks bench, replacing Doc Rivers and Charles Oakley.
Meanwhile, Pat Riley has committed himself to Rolando Blackman tonight. Unlike the other evening, Rolando's getting plenty of playing time.
Blackman guarded by Glass, looking to loft one into Patrick Ewing. Ewing over and rejected by Dennis Rodman. What an enormous block, and Rodman comes away with a big smile on his face. And the Pistons' Olden Polynice sails away victoriously from the hoop on an enormous 4-point play in effect by Detroit.
Tremendous block by Rodman.
Blackman kicks it back out for Anthony. Rolando again. Mason battling for the rebound. Oh, did Dennis Rodman get up for that block?
Blackman screaming for the ball again.
Mason works his way inside and draws the foul. John Starks, and Blackman will leave.
Get another look now. Ewing has his man beat. Goes up for the slam dunk, and no, Rodman meets him at the top of his jump. Loves it.
Anthony Mason stepping to the line, which Rolando Blackman has done 3 times in the game. We mentioned the number of free throw attempts that Rolando has taken this year. John is saying that he hasn't been going to the hoop. Well, that's 3 free throw attempts tonight, his season high.
Look at the smiling face of Rodman. who continues to bring so much to this team.
That was a gift from Rodman that Anthony, had he just turned his head a little bit more, could have easily intercepted. It is an 8-point Pistons lead. Terry Mills. Just missing. Pistons outscoring the Knicks 14-6 since the game was tied at 55. Anthony. Greg Anthony from the outside, now 2 of 5.
That's his second long jump shot tonight.
Anthony ran into a screen. Right off the top of the backboard. Gerald Glass, all meant for a 3. And this third quarter looks as though it's going to close with the Knicks showing nothing for all their hard work. Ewing's pass stolen after it was deflected, and now the Pistons can hold it for 1. Emotionally, it's going to be difficult for Pat Riley to convince this team they've got to do the exact same thing again in the fourth that they did here. Anthony almost stole it. 1 second to go, and a rejection inside that ends the third quarter. And it comes to a close with the Pistons leading by 9, 72-63. Of course, injuries killed Marshall Faulk, and this is an extremely good guy who came from an underprivileged neighborhood. To say the very least, he's overcome a lot to get where he's been. Back we go. It is Charles Smith with the slam inside as the Knicks and the Pistons begin the fourth quarter. Mentioned that the Knicks worked so hard to tie the game at 55. They were down by 7 at the half, but entering the fourth, they were down by 9. Now it's 7 again.
Ewing reacted beautifully to the double and triple teaming to find Smith. The Knicks now in a position where they have to come back again.
Gerald Glass sliding around John Starks, but rejected by Patrick Ewing. Anthony and Starks at the Knick guards with Smith, Ewing, and Mason to start things off for Pat Riley's Knicks in the fourth. Ewing on Colonies. Sharp bounce pass for Anthony. Ewing. Patrick Ewing with 21 points.
Very crisp passing by the Knicks.
It's still another fall-away jumper from the baseline. Knicks within 5. Off the fingertips of Colonies. Knicks pressuring a bit. And getting the results.
Pistons come in tonight with a 5-game winning streak, and it all began when they ended their 7-game losing streak in Detroit against the Knicks. Terry Mills just creamed John Starks coming across the middle.
I think creamed is the operative word there.
Starks,
yes.
Starks put himself in position, though, by setting the pick on the taller Terry Mills, who's got a lot of weight on that 6'10" frame.
He's also got a lot of fouls at 4. Greg Anthony weaving and dropping it in on the finger roll. Knicks again have closed to within 3. An optimistic beginning for them in the fourth. Dumars guarded by Anthony. Gerald Glass and John Starks. Charles Smith picks up Terry Mills right there, posting up low. He draws a double team, tangled up, and it will be Detroit ball with 8 seconds to go on the 24-second clock. Rodman and Mason, that's a matchup to watch. And Colonies with Patrick Ewing.
Knicks have done a good job on Rodman. He's had some sparkling moments, but he hasn't dominated.
Rodman with 7 consecutive 20-point rebound games has only 10. And the steal. Anthony goes all the way.
Great combination. Stark, Ewing, and Anthony getting that ball loose. And for once, Anthony has an uncontested layup.
Dumars gets it across the midcourt line, and Detroit stops the flow. The Knicks run off a 6-0 run. 9:45 to go in the fourth. It's a 1-point game.
45, even 45 says, even 47 per pound, $4,700 for 1 time, $47.5.
What'll it be, fellas?
Make it a Bud Light.
Sorry, this is the last one.
Well, I think I've been. I can take that one.
What do you want to give for it? I'm a 2 and a 10. Give me 10, a 20 bid. Give me 20 now, 30. Give me 30 now, 40 bid. Give me 40 now, 50. Give me 50 now, 60 bid. Give me 60 now, 70. Give me 70 now, 80.
If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
Bud Light, please.
Sorry, boys. This is the last one.
Came back and went right to work. And an example of the shape that the guy hadn't been playing. And look at he steps right in and gets 20 rebounds.
Greg Anthony down deep for Anthony Mason. Great move. Knicks within one. Starks pressuring Dumars all the way up the floor. Dumars slides around him and Starks commits the foul.
Well, moments ago, Knicks getting good inside play from Anthony Mason. No dribble from Mason. He just used that big body to spread the defense out and do what he wanted.
Soft touch when he's in close belies the huge body of Anthony Mason. Dumars guarded by Starks. 10 on the 24. Dumars pulls up and puts it in. 76-73.
Dumars protects the ball so well with his body.
Mason's guarded by Orlando Woolridge. Down low, Charles Smith. Over and in. Rodman is called for the foul. It's a three-point opportunity that could tie the game again.
Rodman's asking for an explanation. We'll see it in replay now. Smith goes up. Rodman looked like he stayed away from Smith. Take another look at it. Where's the foul? Where's the foul? Official saw a foul. Number 4 for Rodman. He's still puzzled.
That sends Charles Smith to the line. Smith 6 of 8 from the floor. 15 points. Make it 16. The game is tied at 76. It's been tied at 2. It's been tied at 55. And now it is tied again. The Garden comes to life again. Just under 8 minutes to go. Thomas thinking of driving. Dishing for Dumars. Huge rebound by Mason. Anthony way up for Starks. 3. Got it. And the foul.
And he's on his back. It doesn't happen very often where a player gets a chance at a 4-point play.
The Garden is on its feet.
Well, John Starks will get the chance now to give the Knicks a 4-point play on one shot.
It is not the only time that John Starks has been in a position to do that. 3 previous times he has had a 4-point play. Bill Lambier returns. Olin Polynice, who's done a pretty good job with 14 points and 3 rebounds, leaves. But the Knicks exploding in front by 3 and a chance for a 4-point lead. Pistons led by 9 at the start of the quarter. Just over 4 minutes to go. And the 4-point play is not to be. Anthony almost stole it away from Isaiah Thomas. Thomas thinking about driving. He draws 3 Knicks. Still now in trouble. Isaiah's in big trouble. But a 20-second timeout was called by somebody on the Detroit bench. And only one. Woolridge kicks it out for Dumars for a 3-pointer. Rebound is Ewing for Anthony. Starks is open on the right wing. Starks for 3. Got it. That's the second big 3-pointer for John Starks. It gives the Knicks a 4-point lead.
Pat Riley committing once again in the close of this game to Anthony and Starks in the backcourt. Blackman and Rivers had control in the 3rd quarter.
Thomas gets around Anthony. Meets some defense in the lane. Mason with some great dribbling. 3-on-1. Anthony. 89-83.
That's the defensive trio that Riley likes, and they were at the other end.
And another Detroit timeout to slow down the Knicks. Isaiah Thomas is standing on the floor stunned, and it looks as though Rodman has lost some energy too. Lambier. A rebounding battle that goes all the way to the Detroit bench, and Rodman sails into the seats. He could be hurt.
Not him.
Well, he went face first after keeping his balance.
I feel sorry for the spectator beneath him. Watch him bounce up. Watch him bounce up.
Unbelievable.
He's invincible. He is the rubber man.
How's the fan?
Rodman competing for that ball with Starks. Ball goes out of bounds. Rodman commits to it. Keeps his footing, and he is gone. Oh, that poor spectator.
One more time. Back live, Pistons. Dennis Rodman, short, followed inside by Thomas, and grabbed by Charles Smith. Under a minute to go.
Smith quick to that loose ball.
Knicks holding on to their 4-point lead. Greg Anthony runs the show. The Knicks with an enormous percentage in the fourth quarter to regain the game. Mason misses, gets his own rebound, and gets fouled and exchanges words with Isaiah Thomas, who thought about throwing the ball
He
out.
has a lot to hold himself back. Isaiah's bursting. He wants to go at Mason. And he's coming. He continues to come. Mason has a shield of Knicks around him. And Isaiah will not let up.
Little playoff carryover, perhaps.
And Ron Rothstein, knowing the competitive fire of Isaiah, is right out there to contain him. Now it's turned into smiles.
Both coaches on the floor.
Rodman tough. Denies that shot attempt by Mason. Mason, however, with his strength, goes in and gets that rebound. And he's missized. And then gives Isaiah a mouthful.
But John, how about Mason winning that battle with Rodman in position to grab the rebound?
Tremendous strength of Anthony Mason made it happen.
Well, you remember what made the Bad Boys famous a few years ago. And Mason fails to seize the moment. 35.5 seconds to go. Starks with a word of encouragement for Mason, his benchmate. And the Knicks lead 92-88.
Friendly gesture by Starks to Thomas. Not accepted.
Timeout on the floor with the Knicks now leading by 5. The Pistons must be thinking long range during this timeout. About as flat as they can be. Isaiah Thomas hitting the side of the backboard. This could do it. From 16 points down in the first half, the Knicks have beaten the Detroit Pistons 95-88. They came back in the third to tie it at 55. Then watch that evaporate to a 9-point Pistons lead after 3. And then in the fourth quarter, the Knicks started it off on a roll and continued to roll. The final at the Garden once again. The Knicks 95, the Pistons 88. Bruce Beck will have all our post-game coverage in a moment on MSG.